الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. So we discussing was about those things which renders the water najis or not, right? So we discussed yesterday about about that which when it dies in the water. And now the new thing we're discussing here today, obviously started the discussion yesterday, we have to continue with it. Uh, that which lives in the water itself. And the essence of the discussion was this, that najasat, as long as it's in its place of takhliq, its place of creation, right? Then you do not consider it to render something najis. Like you as an individual, you sitting here, you are full of blood, you are full of feces, number two, you are full of urine. But we don't say that you can't read the mouth because it's in its place of takhliq. The same thing we say that that which lives in the water, like a fish, a frog, a crab, etc., if it dies in the water, then it will not render the water najis. Unlike a other, you can say, animals that has nafs, it has blood. Blood is najis. So when a thing dies, you say maybe through the perspiration, whatever, through the pores, some of that najasat, it diffuses into the water. You see there, وَمَوْتُ مَا يَعِيشُ فِي الْمَاءِ فِيهِ لَا يُفْسِدُهُ. Then the death of that of Maya issue is the mudaf ilayna, which is jumla fi'liyat ma mawsul. The death of that which lives in the water in it, right? وَمَوْتُ مَا يَعِيشُ فِي الْمَاءِ فِيهِ. So this فيه refers to maut. الموت فيه يعني الموت ما يعيش في الماء فيه يعني موت فيه في الماء. You understood? So this يعيش في الماء, that is jar majmud ali to يعيش, and فيه means the death of it in the water, right? لا يفسده. It will not corrupt it in this context here. It will not render it najis. كالسمك والضفدع والسرطان, like the fish, the frog, and the crab. I'm just thinking to myself now, if you, for example, got a fish tank by the house, right, and a fish died in the fish tank, that fish, that water won't become najis. You understand what I'm saying? Or you, like, yeah, okay, anonymous, you got, for example, a pond by your house. You got a pond there, right? And then you got fish in the pond, and a fish died in the pond, and you needed to make wudu from that water. You can make wudu from that water, no problem. Maybe there's drought, there's no water, so you need to make. Or like if you go to India, so today you go to India. You went to India. You went? Mashallah, where did you tell me? Where did you went to India? Huh? Jesus, mashallah. So you go, or even you go to Durban, Durban, the Grey Street Masjid, Grey Street Masjid. They've got a big pond, they've got a big house there, and they've got fish in there also. So if even if that is my Khalil, so it's my Kasir, it's a different Masai, my Kasir is different. But let's say it's my Khalil, and a fish die in that pond there, fine, no problem, because it is something that lives in the water, right? So even if you got a small, tiny pond, or even your fish tank for that matter, or you got a Jojo tank, I don't know maybe how fish came with your Jojo tank, but maybe you're breeding fish. You can make money with the squash you breed them. So in your Jojo tank, you had a fish in there. Or maybe, okay, more relevant, Masar, if this is your tadpoles. Tadpoles, anywhere they appear. So tadpoles got into that thing. So that's what come under the same hukum of this, that, like a frog was sarpan, a crab got into there, it died in there. No problem. It will not render it najis. Why? Because we say it is in its original place of creation. وقال الشافعي يفسده. Imam Shafi says that the frog and the crab, it dies in the water, it will corrupt it. إلا السمكة, except the fish, لما مر, because of what we passed earlier. Remember what we said here in this وَمَوْتُ مَا لَيْسَ لَنَفْسٌ صَائِلٌ. We said these things are haram, and because you can't eat a frog is haram to eat. So if it's haram, that means it's najis. So that means a najis thing died in the water. Remember, that's what he's saying. But we got another, this is our proof. وَلَنَا أَنَّهُ مَأَتَ فِي مَأْدَنِهِ. Look here, this died, مَأْدِنِهِ means his original place of origin, right? فَلَا يُطَالَ حُكْمُ النَّجَاسَةِ. So it will not be given the law of being najis. And we got examples of that. Say, كَبَيْضَةٍ حَالَ مُخُّهَا دَمًا. Like an egg which its yolk, mukhwa, became blood. So if you got the egg right? There's two things I want to explain to people, especially for the ladies of the kitchen. Here is something extra I'll explain to you. But first, I'll explain what says in the Ibarat. What is in the Ibarat is saying, you got the egg, the yolk in that thing, now maybe fertilized or whatever. I'm not sure exactly from a botanical. When does a blood egg appear in the egg? Is that maybe a fertilized egg by the rooster one, or is that the beginning of the creation of a chicken? Well, I was just reading earlier. They say sometimes that is because of a rupture in the chicken or something. But whatever it is, so if there's blood in the yolk of the egg, right? Then because the blood is in its original place, it is not dame masfuh. It is not flowing blood. Just we read it Rawi last night. قل لا أجد فيما أوحي البحر على طائم يطعم إلا أن يكون دما مسفوحا أو لحم خنزير فإنه رجس. Last night we read it. أن يكون دما مسفوحا, except that his blood is shed. So like I was telling you, as long as the blood is there, it's still, it doesn't render you najis. But when it comes out of there, then the same thing, this blood is in its original place of origin. So that eggs will still be clean, will be packed. So if you got the egg which has blood in it, right? Then you in your pocket you can read Salah. Okay, so that's what he's saying in the Kitab. But while we're discussing this Masla, yeah, I just want to tell some extra faida for the ladies or for the men that have to cook for their wives, for men that have to make breakfast for their wives. If you find a dot or two of blood in the egg, no problem. If you're some people got what he said, nazuk tablet, sensitive tablet. If they see the blood in the egg, they won't eat the egg. They're very sensitive like me. You won't want to eat that egg. It's all right. I got very, very sensitive tablet with regards to this thing. So anyway, you don't that's separate. But strictly speaking, from a halal point of view, you just have to take the blood out and then you can eat it, right? Yes, they say if more than half of the yolk is turned into blood, then it's not permissible for you to eat it. So we're separating between the masla of whether you're considering it najis or not, and the masla of whether it's permissible to consume or not. So if one, two dots of blood in the egg, you just take it out, you eat it, that's fine, right? But if the whole thing, half or more turns to blood, it will not be permissible to consume it. Then in the next ibarat, it's such a small ibarat, but this side is giving another dalil. In fact, this is discussed in more detail in Sharh al-Wiqayah. I remembered from then. وَلِأَنَّهُ لَا دَمَ فِيهِ. So remember he's saying, why the death of a fish? Why the death of a frog? Have any blood in them. They don't have any blood. I tell you, this is mentioned in the Sharah. You like how you never do like the original kitabs like how we got the old copies where you got in the marginal footnotes, which is very, very okay. The Hidayah using got there. So in the footnotes of Sharia is mentioned there that how do you know what is blood? If it's left in the sun and it turns black, that means it is blood. And if you take a fish blood and you put in the sun, it doesn't turn black. It turns like whitish. So that shows you it is not blood in the regular sense of the word blood. So this is Yesai Vidai. He mentioned this very briefly. Sometimes Ajib, sometimes Sai Vidai goes in so much detail. Sometimes he mentions such important things very, very briefly. Maybe the idea is he wants you to also pick up the other kitabs and also read. So this is a big proof here, but he mentions in 4 words. But I said this is discussed in detail in the other kitab. There's another proof why he's saying that the fish, if it dies in water, it will not reject najis. He said because fish doesn't have blood like other animals. And I told you, blood is that which left in the sun will turn black. If you next time you go fishing, you must take the fish blood and leave it in the sun. It doesn't turn black. So that shows it's not blood. Right? Then he's saying, if it dama, we will lie as Look here, he's saying that in this, that an animal that has a regular blood that is najis, la yaskunu fil ma'i. He does not live in the water. This is the fish, the crab, etc. has a different type of blood, not the regular blood that makes things najis. And remember, if you remember when we started the discussion originally, we said the reason why the death of the animal in the water renders is najis is because the blood diffuses through the pores and it goes into the water, which makes the water najis. Now here he's saying these animals that live in water, how we say in English or in biology bioterminology, I remember from school, we call it aquatic animals, right? So these aquatic animals, they don't have blood in the regular sense of the word blood. You understood? It is damawiyu la yaskuru fil ma'i. And what damu huwa najisu. It is the blood which is actually najis, right? Right. So you understood it. So you got two proofs. One is it died in its original place of creation. The second proof you got here is that it doesn't have blood. I'm not sure now, maybe in English you say it's not a warm blooded animal. It's not the blood that renders something najis. So in the next ibarat now, he's making reference to another masla. If these animals that normally live in the water, it died in besides water, right? وفي غير الماء يعني مات هؤلاء المخلوقات right في غير الماء قيل غير السمك يفسده. That if the fish died water, it died in a it died in a but it died in a liquid but not water. It died in liquid. It is not water. Right? You understood that? وفي غير الماء يعني مات في غير الماء. It died in something which is not water. Okay, there's just a question here quickly. You want to do the translation of this word again? Hala muhuha daman. That one there, ne? The question here, just one second. Normally referred to if you look in muhwa. Wataha? Wataha. Muhwa. So that means yo, we were most of the I got mixed up muhwa. But anyway, the translation here is okay, check in a dictionary what is muh there. You got a dictionary, or just Google it, okay? So what this means is this like an egg who it's yellow, hala yahulu to changes into daman. It's yellow. In this case, the yolk, the meat. This one you got muh. You said you got muh. I'll check here in the Shara of Rana Samiri from the UK, what he's got here also. But this, I tell you, this is the most authentic. I'll go with this one anytime. So you check muhwa there. Yeah, this kitab of Mala Samiruddin of the UK, Asmarul Hidayah this year, it's got yoke. Okay, so this probably is a Jazakallah for that. Jazakallah to the listener that brought our attention. This is probably a mistake here. That's there you can see there's a khad, it's a mistake. So muh means yoke. Okay, so this Jazakallah for that. Whoever brought our attention. So the correct word here is muh, which means so hala yahulu means to change. That one which its yolk changes into blood. Right. So remember now, even if the whole egg changes into blood, you still it will not be considered najis. But yes, you can't eat it. So just remember that this separate between it being najis and eating. There's a two different law for being najis and eating. So if the whole egg turn into blood, still you can read salah because it is in its original place of creation, right? And if it what does I say? But to eat it, if it, the greater majority of it turns to blood, then you can't eat it, right? So anyway, the next Messiah is saying, they say now, وَفِي غَيْرِ الْمَاءِ if the fish, that thing which lives in water, it died in a liquid besides water. So for example, I'll give you an example now. You had a big drum of oil, for example, right? And a frog died. We know the frog comes out of the water sometimes, right? And maybe you had expensive olive oil, for example, and the frog died in the olive oil now. Now, what was it? Now, you look here, if you look at the original part of the original part of the masla said here that when the frog died, doesn't render najis because it died in its place of creation. Are you with me? Are you with me? So now, if you apply that in a strict sense of the word, then you say, okay, so the frog died in your ghee, your butter, maybe you had a lot of butter, or you had oil, or any maybe other expensive liquid, then it's not supposed to be najis. So here they answer your question. Well, say the frog died in a liquid besides water, right? Maybe you are a cook for you're cooking for a business. So you have large amounts of ghee and large amounts of oil and all that. Oil is very expensive at the moment in South Africa. I don't even know about it. Gone through the roof, the price of oil. So kira غير السمك يفسده. So kira, I told you, normally refer to a vehicle, right? So they're saying if it's not fish, not a fish, if it's a crab, or if it's a frog, whatever, it died in your ghee, it died in your oil. So kira غير السمك يفسده. It will render it what? Yes, if a fish died in your ghee, if a fish died in your olive oil or your coconut oil, not make it najis. But if it die, something besides that, why? In idamil ma'adani. Because this ghee, etc., etc., it is not the original place of creation. Although it's a liquid, but it's not the place. La yusiduhu. But it's also been said that even if this, besides the fish, like a frog or a crab, it died in your ghee, right? La yusiduhu. It will not corrupt it. Pure corrupt means not really najis. Why? Li dami. So even though it's never died in its original place, but these things also don't have blood in the strict sense of the word blood, right? وهو الأصح, and this is the preferred um, opinion. I told you asah, you get sahi, sahah, sah, kila, qalu. Asah means refer to the fatwa is upon this, right? What divda'ul bahri wal barri sawa'un. So here they're saying you get an aquatic frog and you get a land frog. We need to check a bit more about this, but what I'm saying, according to this, it is said that the aquatic frog, the ocean frog, and the land frog, they are both the same. In other words, a frog is a frog. Like how we discussed all the maslas before, it's like whether it's the land frog or the oceanic or what is the same thing. وقيل البري يفسد لوجود الدم وعدم المعدن. But it has been said that the land frog, the frog that lived primarily on the land, if it died right now here in what you call it, in the liquid, يفسد, it will corrupt it, contaminate لوجود الدم, because it has blood وعدم المعدن, and it never died in its original place, right? It died in the ghee or something, right? Right. وما يعيش, then the next thing is an important principle. وما يعيش في الماء ما يكون توالد ومثواه في الماء. So we discussed earlier that which lives in the water, that which lives. What is it? What lives in the, what is the Shari definition? Maybe if you go to biology, you get a definition of an aquatic animal, but we're not too concerned with the biology definition or the biological definition. We're looking at the Shari definition. And what is the Shari definition of what lives in water? Is this? وَمَا يَعِيشُ فِي الْمَاءِ مَا يَكُونُ تَوَالُدُ وَمَثْوَاهُ. That which is born in the water and it lives in the water. So in other words, the female gives birth to the eggs in water like fish. It hatches its egg in the water, right? Crab maybe it hatches its egg in the water. And uh, for example, a duck, it lives in the water. But where does a duck lay its eggs? It lays on the land. So that shows you what? That if a duck dies in the water, you won't say, no, there's an aquatic animal, it won't corrupt the water. No, it will corrupt the water because it's tawaluduhu, it's birth, giving birth, etc., is not in the water. وَمَثْوَاهُ, and its living is in the water, but its birth is not. So both it must give birth or lays eggs or whatever way it produce, whatever must be in the water, right? وَمَاءُ الْمَعَاشِ دُونَ مَاءِ الْمَوْلِدِ مُفْسِدٌ. So that ma'yu al-ma'ash, that which the Its living is in water, right? Duna Maulidi, but its birth is not in water. Mufsidun, that will corrupt the water, it will render the water najis, because we won't say it is original ma'adan, or we won't say it is an aquatic animal, so to say. Is that clear there? Sure? Okay, we'll switch over to the tafsir now, inshallah. It's not born, so tawalad, so walada yalidu, tawalad, tawalad. Right, so it's not right. Okay, you can switch over, inshallah, to the. You never change the page. Forgot somebody's asking you to change the page. You forgot to change the page.